This is hard. Okay. So I'm Natalie from Happier, and if you guys looked in your program, I'm going to walk around. I'm going to give you a break from the healthy eating and the cookies and the bread basket and the pasta skipping, and we're going to talk about happiness instead. Sound cool? Yeah! All right, before I start, how many people here have ever wanted to or want to be happy? Be honest. Come on, skeptical New Yorkers. Yes? Okay, I was one. So did I, but let me tell you a story of how that came to be. So until I was 13 years old, so for the first highly formative years of my life, I lived in the communist Russia. So the communist Russia that you guys all grew up probably seeing, and we're Jewish, and so being a Jew in communist Russia was a highly unhappy experience. So in 1989, my family and I decided to try and escape and come to the United States. Our first place where we got to was a refugee camp in the red light district of Vienna. I don't know why they kept Russian refugees in the red light district of Vienna. And when I say Vienna, you guys start thinking like, oh, the beautiful opera house or like the really tasty Vienna desserts. That's not what we were doing there. You know, we lived in this horrible, dilapidated building. We had nothing. We'd given up everything to leave, even our citizenship. So interesting first stop on the way to the US. Our second stop was we moved to a refugee camp in Italy where, together with a couple 100,000 Russian Jewish immigrants, we spent a few months being really, really hungry. Definitely no question there about skipping carbs. Whatever we had, we ate. And trying to make a case to the US that we could come here as refugees, and eventually did. So as a bright-eyed or blurry-eyed 14-year-old, finally landed in the projects outside of Detroit. So let me tell you, you know, like you see postcards of America and it's beautiful and the skyscrapers and it's New York City. Then you wake up and you're in the projects in Ypsilanti outside of Detroit. Not happy. That was my family's first entry into the US, and it took me a while. You know, we lived on welfare and food stamps. It was kind of all horrible beginning. And if that sounds like a really odd beginning to a story about becoming happier, it is. Probably the worst thing I've gone through in my life. Once I got on my feet a little bit, I decided that there was something I was going to do. I was going to make up for this horrible, horrible experience that my family just went through. And I was going to do that by chasing the American dream. And I thought that in America, what the big dream is the big happy. I thought that's what you become. In America, we all want to be really happy. And the way that I thought you get to be really happy is you achieve a lot. You do a lot of things on your life list. You make a lot of money. And so that's what I did. So for the next 20 years, I went on what I call my chase of the big happy. You know, I went to work at top consulting firms, graduated top of my class, went and became one of the youngest, and I think very few women venture capitalists here in New York, started a couple companies, wrote books, started a publishing company with my husband. We lived in this illegally rent-controlled apartment in Stuytown, which you guys all know. We started a publishing company there in parallel to being a VC. Married an awesome guy, had an adorable daughter who rode around only in the best fancy strollers, bought fancy cars. You know, I did the thing that I thought I was supposed to do. A few years ago, 20 years of this chase of the big happy, I realized that I wasn't happy at all. I was really appreciative of a lot of what I had in my life, but I wasn't happy. I was mostly really exhausted. And so my father's a scientist. My mother's a pianist, left brain, right brain. And so I said, okay, I wonder if there's science on what I can do to be happier, because whatever I'd been doing wasn't working. So I turned to the science, and I was blown away. There's so much research on what makes us happier, and that's when I had what I call my holy crap moment. And my holy crap moment was I was doing it completely wrong. I was chasing this completely impossible, ridiculous, some nirvana state of the big happy, and was missing all these small happy moments that my life was filled with. And if you look at the science, the number one thing that has been scientifically proven to make people happier is to stop, pause, and focus on a few small positive things in your day. And I can see some of your faces. I had the same face of like, no freaking way. It sounds too simple, too trivial. There's studies that have shown that this treats depression, and a quarter of all women in the US are now taking some kind of antidepressant or anti-anxiety medication, and we're prescribing antidepressants at a faster rate than ever. This has been shown to improve people's outlook who are depressed better than drugs. This has been shown to help kids learn faster and better in school. It makes employees happier. It makes people more optimistic. A simple, simple thing of pausing and capturing a few small happy things a day. The other thing that I found in the science that blew me away is that happiness is contagious, just like a cold. If you have a person in your social network who is generally positive, you have a 25% increased chance of feeling more cheerful. And that continues for every person. That's about a 10% average. The idea that happiness is contagious. So I spent a bunch of years looking at this research, and then I said, okay, I'm going to stop being a skeptic. I'm going to make it part of my life. And I did, and it truly changed my life, and it inspired me to leave whatever big fancy job I had at the time and start a company called Happier, to encourage everyone to do something really simple, to stop saying, I'll be happy when, and to start saying, I'm happier now because. And it's been really fascinating. We've been around for just a few months. We're closing in on about 1 million of these happy moments shared. It's all about pausing and sharing these small happy moments. The incredible thing is to see what impact it actually can have on our lives, right? Something as small and trivial as that. Just the other day, I was reading an email. We got thousands of emails from people who use our mobile app or the website. And this woman wrote in to say, she's a teenager, she's 19 years old, and she said that she's been struggling. She's been struggling at school. There's a lot of bullying. She's been struggling on Facebook. There's a lot of negativity on Facebook. And she said, you know, it's amazing. I saw Happier. I thought I was a bunch of bull. She used a different word, but I don't want you guys to bleep me out on the live feed. She said, you know, it was like a bunch of BS. And then I just gave it a shot. And she said, I didn't realize that even on the crappiest day when this kid in school called me ugly and I came home and had a fight with my mom and I looked in the mirror and hated what I saw, and she went on and on and on describing all these negative things, she said, I didn't realize that even days like that can have some small positive things in them. And that's a story of my chase of the big happy, is the good and the bad news. The bad news is there's no such thing as this state of happy that I think a lot of us are out here chasing. The good news is I think that being happier and finding small happy moments in your day is accessible to everyone. You don't need to have the fancy jobs. You don't need a lot of money. You don't need the fancy stroller or the fancy car. And that's my big message for all of you guys. It's right here. It's really simple. Life is made of moments, and we can all choose to create and collect the happy ones. And it really is a choice. There's a famous quote, I forget who said it, that happiness is a choice. I think less about happiness and more about being happier and finding these small happy moments in your day. Give it a shot. There's a ton of science. There's a ton, you know, I'm not a professor. I spent a couple years looking at this. There's a ton of science that shows just how powerful it is, but I think the biggest way to figure out the impact is if you give it a shot for a day or so. So be happier. Don't I get like awesome music now? No. You should turn on the sound. Thank you guys.